Okay, so you are going to have the chance to investigate mitigation and adaptation techniques. What I have set up on the OWL site are 3 categories: mitigation, adaptation, and personal action. Personal action because I think we always want to start with what we can do, and so I want to give you the chance to look into that. I'm going to put some examples below of some of the types of mitigation, adaptation, or personal action that you might look into, and then your job is to do a brief amount of research and post in the comments below about what you found. So the task is pretty straightforward. Come and check and see if anyone else has already posted. Choose something that hasn't been posted about yet. Do a little bit of research and share what you found. Try to go beyond what is it by looking into how does it work, what's its maximum potential, is it being tested somewhere right now, is it being used, and how efficient or effective is it? So a bit of background on mitigation, adaptation, and personal action. This is going to be really brief, and then you're going to do the activity that I introduced at the beginning of this video. And the reason I do it that way is because mitigation and adaptation are such broad categories, and mitigation techniques, for example, are evolving rapidly all the time. And so in this way, we can get the most up-to-date information and learn from each other about something that's really interesting to each one of us. Because technologies are advancing at such a rapid rate. So, and adaptation strategies are changing all the time as well. So for that reason, I'm going to get you to investigate something that's of interest to you, and then come back later and check what you've come up with. So the learning outcomes for this lesson are to distinguish adaptation from mitigation and provide a detailed example of each, and also to be able to identify areas for potential future technological advancements in mitigation. So first, what is climate change mitigation? And I've heard you defining this before, so this might be a review for you. So climate change mitigation is actions to limit the magnitude or rate of long-term climate change. So reducing anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gases and increasing capacity of carbon sinks and capture. So those are the 2 ways, right? Like you can reduce the emissions coming out from industry and so on, or you can, and you can increase the capacity of carbon sinks and capture to take those emissions out of the atmosphere as well. Now, just a reminder that tapering off and reaching peak emissions without actually decreasing, which is what you see on the left side here, that's emissions. That's what's coming out of industry and cars and things like that. So having those taper off, reaching peak emissions, still results in increasing concentrations of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, right? Because the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, like you're still putting emissions up there, just not at a accelerating rate. And carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere doesn't just fall out as soon as emissions peak. So what we really need is emissions of carbon dioxide to peak and then decline in order to stabilize the concentrations of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So then the next question is, what is climate change adaptation? So these are actions taken to manage the eventual or unavoidable impacts of global warming. No matter what we do, there is going to be some adaptation, and in fact, there already is adaptation to climate change. Adaptation to climate change seeks to reduce the vulnerability of biological systems to climate change effects. So that's focused, broadly on biological systems, but we are A, a part of biological systems, and B, completely dependent on biological systems. Even if emissions are stabilized soon, climate change and its effects will last many years and adaptation will be necessary. So this has never really been an either or, mitigation or adaptation, but the more mitigation that you do, the easier the adaptation will be. Climate change adaptation is especially important in developing countries since these countries are predicted to bear the brunt of the effects of climate change.